Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. This is a step-by-step layout process video for the page you see on the screen. And here are the products I'll be using. I have two sets of dies. I have those alpha dies as well as that hollow floral frame die. And both of those dies came from the In Love Art Shop. I also have paper from Stampin' Up. That's from the See a Silhouette collection. And I'll talk more about these products as I use them. I'll also put a list of the products I use in the information box below. Now I'll put links for those dies as well as a 15% coupon for that shop in case you're interested. So in advance I did a bit of preparation. I trimmed and matted those photos and I prepared this frame style foundation with 3 sheets of paper and I gutted 2 of them. Now I did play with those dies a bit in advance and honestly they're cute, they cut well. They took about a month to get here though, from the time I ordered to the time they landed in my mailbox in Canada. Now what I'm going to do is prepare my foundation page, continue preparing it. So I'm going to take this orange paper and I'm going to slice it twice at 4 inches. And from here on in, all measurements for photos and page parts will be written on the screen. This paper, by the way, came from the paper I gutted from behind the foundation page. So as you can see, I'm using both sides of it. I'm staggering them as a border towards the left-hand side of the page, and that's where I'll be placing my photos. Now the photo on top is going to be adhered flat to the page, and the photo on the bottom, I'm going to be adding foam adhesive. And when I do that, I want you to look at the placement of my adhesive because I'm carefully placing it just a little bit in towards the middle, simply because I'm going to want to add some layering, some decorations from beneath the photo in a little bit. And if I put the foam adhesive too close to the edges, that would be impossible. So I continue adhering all of this down, and this, by the way, is a very classic easy page design. The photos go along the border to the left, sort of in the middle between those 2 photos. That's where the journaling is going to go and the main embellishment cluster. And beneath that, that is where I will be placing my title towards the end of this video. So the first thing I'm going to do is create this hollow floral frame. So I'm passing it through my Big Shot machine. I'm using the magnetic platform, not the precision plate, but I did add a piece of extra cardstock underneath that transparent plate just to add a little bit more thickness to it. Now I'm taking this paper piercing tool and I'm simply poking out the leaf and flower petals. And honestly, it pokes out easily and quite clean as well. So that's done, but I'm going to want to pimp it up a bit. So what I'm doing is I'm going to take some other colored cardstock, some green as well as crushed curry and coral calypso. Those are all Stampin' Up colors. And I'm simply going to slip them underneath parts of this die. So what I want to do is I want to cut out some leaves as well as some flowers. And I'm going to add that around the frame just to add some visual interest, some texture and some depth to this embellishment cluster. So I'm taking a pair of scissors because the frame, of course, has that scrolly, sketchy, circular form around it. So what I'm doing is just snipping off the little bits that are attached to the flowers and the leaves. That was done easily enough. And I'm doing the flower right now, and off camera in advance I cut out a bunch more leaves and flowers. I just wanted to show you how I did it in pieces here. And I'm going to kind of play around with placement a bit, but before I actually adhere all of these little bits and pieces to the page, I'm going to want to place my journaling box, and you'll see that in a minute. So as you can see, I'm just going to place these small bits and bobs around the page just to have an idea what it's going to look like. Most of it's going to be around the journaling box, but there's going to be a little hit in the top left-hand corner. And that circle of graph paper, I cut that out in advance simply with circle nesting dies, and that's going to be where my journaling is going to be. But I want to pimp this up a bit too. So this is a stamp set called Swirly Frames, I think, from Stampin' Up, and I'm using simply black tuxedo memento ink. and I simply stamped a circle in the middle, and I think it just looks a lot nicer that way. And I'll put my writing within that circular border a little bit later on. So now the first thing I do is I cover up the black leaves as well as the black flowers that I'm going to adhere this frame to the page. This was probably the most difficult part just because the pieces are very small, so I had to kind of piece off my adhesive and carefully tuck it behind those black narrow pieces, but it worked. And I adhere that underneath the photo at the bottom and kind of on top of the photo on top, and I placed my journaling box in the middle. And now what I'm doing is kind of piecing around, placing around the other leaves as well as flowers. And you may have noticed I took those leaves, the ones on towards the top, and I snipped them in two, because when they come out of the die cutting machine, they're obviously in the form of the die, but I wanted to change the position a bit, so they cut in half very easily. So that's what I did. I'll do that with the leaves at the top of the page as well, just so that it works with my design a little bit better. Now what I'm doing is taking a circle punch, two circle punches actually. One is a 1/2 inch and the other is probably 3/8 of an inch. It's not written on the punch. And I'm adding centers to those flowers. I could do that with also enamel dots or all kinds of different things, but I'm just doing it in the cardstock. And now what I'm going to do is create a title for the bottom of my page. So I'm taking out these alpha dies from the In Love Art Shop, and what I'm going to do is, you'll notice they're already all stuck together. Those are the kind of dies that when you buy them, you're supposed to snip them apart, but I made the decision to keep all of these stuck together. Number one, I figured it would be easy to lose one of these tiny letters and much more easy to keep them all together if they were in one piece. And as you can see, all I did was tuck cardstock underneath the letter I wanted, so it worked perfectly well. It's a short title. It's going to say Our Adventure. And I cut out Adventure in advance with those dies. Those are from Stampin' Up. Again, the same See a Silhouette collection. So there's my title, Our Adventure. The adhesive I'm using there, and I used it a little bit earlier as well, that yellow wax paper thing. It's a strange adhesive, but it kind of works well when there are very tiny pieces. I don't particularly like it, to be perfectly honest, because my hands get goopy, but when the pieces are very fine and narrow, it works well. I will put the name of that product below as well in case you're interested. And now all I'm doing is simply adhering the word hour above that, and that's it. The only thing I have left to do is my journaling, which I do off camera, and you'll see it in the stills at the end. There you go. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to Scrapbooking Quebec, I hope you subscribe. I would love to have you do so. And also, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.